It's right around 1960 when I realized the world's a lot bigger than just my family and the little elementary school I attend. John Kennedy has just narrowly defeated Richard Nixon, and some say it's because he looks better on TV. The country has yet to buy into the proposition that image is everything. Kennedy is young, just 43, handsome, and a war hero. 2 weeks after getting sworn in, his wife Jacqueline, only 31, gives birth to John Jr. His sister Caroline is 3. Kennedy's behind the Peace Corps and the Council on Physical Fitness and signs the first nuclear test ban treaty. He favors expanding civil rights in a country where signs like this are all too common. Americans fear that the Russians are winning the space race, and Kennedy commits to landing a man on the moon within 10 years. In August of 1961, the Berlin Wall is erected. It's the same year that Ringo Starr makes the best decision of his life and joins the Beatles. Many Americans accept the domino theory, which holds that if the communists take one country, like Vietnam, Laos would be next, then Cambodia, and before long, they'd be storming our beaches. To keep this from happening, by the end of 1963, Kennedy's increased our military advisors in Vietnam to 10,000. We also support the overthrow of our former ally, which ends up backfiring. Unfortunately, we'll never know what Kennedy would have done next. Lyndon Johnson is sworn in and resists the call for more advisors, but it's because he thinks it will hurt his chances of re-election. In February of 1964, the Beatles arrive at the airport named for our fallen president. In July, LBJ guides passage of the Civil Rights Act, which will cause deep division within the Democratic Party. On August 4th, 1964, it's falsely reported that North Vietnamese boats have fired on U.S. warships. Congress passes the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which gives LBJ authority to conduct military operations without a declaration of war. In November, he handily defeats Barry Goldwater after suggesting that he's itching to start a nuclear war.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 0.
In schools, students prepare for a nuclear attack, and their parents build fallout shelters in the basement. In March of 1965, LBJ begins the offensive that will drop over 7 million tons of bombs onto Vietnam. Only 2 million were exploded in all of World War II. The North Vietnamese retaliate with attacks on U.S. air bases. To answer, 3,500 U.S. Marines are deployed, and 80% of Americans are in favor. On August 15th, promoter Sid Bernstein books the Beatles into brand new Shea Stadium. They perform under field lights through 100-watt amplifiers, and few in the audience can hear any music. NBC begins broadcasting in color. The most American sets receive only black and white. As 1965 ends, 165,000 U.S. forces are on the ground in Vietnam. The conflict is a proxy war between the United States and Russia, and many believe it must be won at any cost. The generals call for more troops, and before 1966 ends, 350,000 are there. By the summer of 1967, known as the Summer of Love, their number grows to 450,000, and 20,000 are already dead. The war is broadcast on television, with body counts read off like basketball scores. In June, the first major rock festival is held in Monterey, California, featuring Otis Redding, Janis Joplin, The Who, and many others. Growing numbers of Americans question our involvement in Vietnam, especially the young. The average ground soldier is 19, 2 years under the legal voting age. Some see the protesters as unpatriotic troublemakers, or worse, communist dupes bent on overthrowing the government. In January of 1968, the Viet Cong launched their fierce Tet Offensive, and U.S. generals call for more troops. LBJ knows the country won't support escalation and stops the bombing. He initiates peace talks and announces he won't run for re-election. On April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King is murdered, which sets off riots in cities across America. In Florida, head shop owner Michael Lang organizes the Miami Pop Festival. Performers include the Mothers of Invention, Steppenwolf, Blue Cheer, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, and most notably, Jimi Hendrix. Robert Kennedy competes against other anti-war Democrats for the nomination, But shortly after winning the California primary, he too is killed.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
In August, the Democrats hold their convention in Chicago, which is disrupted by anti-war demonstrations. Mayor Richard Daley orders them quashed, and Americans watch in shock as the police brutalize the protesters. Many are worried that our society is falling apart. In the days before open primaries, Vice President Hubert Humphrey gathers enough support in the smoke-filled rooms to win the Democratic nomination. His opponent is the politically resurrected Richard Nixon, who promises peace with honor and law and order. Also running is Alabama Governor George Wallace, who in 1963 personally blocked the door to keep 2 black students from registering at the state university. Wallace will get 10 million votes, and though Humphrey is very close in the popular vote, Nixon easily beats him electorally. And the war rages on. In September, Lang moves to Woodstock, New York, and attends weekend concerts on a nearby farm that are called sound-outs. Unlike Monterey and Miami, people come and camp over the weekend. In October, he meets music executive Artie Kornfeld, and they start planning such a festival, only larger. By December, they're searching for sites. By Christmas, 35,000 Americans have lost their lives in Vietnam. 1968 is the same year that the first successful bone marrow transplant is performed by Robert A. Good at the University of Minnesota. By February of 1969, Lang and Kornfeld meet investors John Roberts and Joel Rosenman, and they agree to finance their concert, which is estimated to cost $250,000. The town of Woodstock declines to issue permits for the festival, but Woodstock Ventures starts signing performers and looking for sites anyway. They select Wallkill, New York, which is 40 miles south of Woodstock. It's not the bucolic setting they'd envisioned, but there really isn't that much time to get the site prepared. To the conservative townspeople of Wallkill, the hippie organizers that start coming up from New York City probably look a little bit like this. They begin wondering if having this big music festival was such a good idea to begin with. By June, Woodstock Ventures is selling tickets through a network of music stores, head shops, and U.S. mail. I really want to go, but at 16, I'm going to need permission. I wasn't much worried about Mom, but Dad was unpredictable. Lang's name for the event helps, as my father is pleased to see that I have an interest in music and the arts. He asks where I'll stay. That we're going to camp strikes him as a worthy adventure for a young man, and he says I can go. We buy our tickets at a record store near the Walt Whitman Mall, and the 3-day pass costs $18. These are the very tickets I bought. On July 15th, Wallkill withdraws approval for the concert, and with just a month to go, Woodstock Ventures needs to find a new site. Through providence or something, they find one in the town of Bethel, on a farm owned by Max Yasgur. On July 2nd, Rolling Stones founder Brian Jones is found dead in his swimming pool. Drugs and alcohol are said to be involved. On July 18th, Ted Kennedy drives his car off a small bridge on Chappaquiddick Island. The accident claims the life of Mary Jo Kopechne. 2 days later, JFK's impossible goal is reached when Neil Armstrong walks on the moon. I am growing worried as rumors circulate that Woodstock is going to be canceled. As the date draws near, friends who are supposed to go start dropping out. And by Friday, it's only me and my best friend, Jimmy Barnett, who get on the train. We have a pup tent, a couple of sleeping bags, $20 or $30, maybe a change of clothes, but very little else. Still, the trip to New York is fun, and we really can't wait to get to Woodstock. In New York, we walk to the Port Authority, where a long line of festival goers wait. By the time we get on a bus, it's dark, but the driver knows about the traffic snarls and takes back roads. We head up to Jersey Turnpike and turn west on Route 80, past Passaic and Patterson. Then it's on to Route 23 North, which takes us through Wayne and Sussex and on into Port Jervis. From there, we follow the Delaware River to Route 55 and turn north. There's hardly any traffic as we breeze up Dr. Dugan's Road and into Bethel. We get dropped off at a country bar named Hector's and pitch camp right across the street. We go inside where I try to call my mother on the payphone that used to be in this corner. The coin box is jammed and won't accept another dime. We buy a 6-pack of beer and a first drink discreetly until we walk out onto Route 17 and join a procession of thousands, many smoking pot, all in full view of a handful of New York State troopers who don't seem to notice. The atmosphere is charged, and everyone seems to know that they're part of something that's never happened before, and it's important that we make it all work out. The road to the festival is dark, and people coming from the opposite direction say the show's over. I'm not sure why, but we listen to them and go back to our tent and end up missing a lot of good music. We start out again in the morning. Strangers say hi and flash the peace sign. There's a tremendous feeling of community. The sight is like nothing we've ever seen. We weave our way close to the stage and find room to sit down. The crowd pack keeps getting tighter, and the sun is hot, the air humid. There's a few water fountains here and there, but the concessions are out of food, and the porta-johns are sparse, and the trucks can't come in to empty them. It's very uncomfortable, but I don't remember caring that much. I was too excited. We watch a band named Quill, and one of their crew is throwing cans of beer into the audience. I worry somebody's going to get hit by one. Tripping, John Sebastian babbles delightfully. Attention is called to a military helicopter that's bringing in medical supplies, and a big cheer goes up. Vietnam vet Country Joe McDonald comes out and does the fist cheer, and the crowd goes wild. I am searching for a can of cold soda when Santana comes on, and even though I'm far from the stage, I can hear perfectly because of Bill Hanley's sound system. On Saturday night, we get to see Canned Heat, Grateful Dead, and Mountain. Conditions in front of the stage are awful and dangerously crowded. Dirty and fatigued, we go back to our tent and miss Creedence Clearwater Revival, Janis Joplin, Sly and the Family Stone, The Who, and the Jefferson Airplane. We simply had no idea who was going to play and when. Even though he's hired just to do the stage lighting, Chip Monk ends up doing a lot of the emceeing. His authoritative voice assures everyone that everything is under control.
The warning that I've received, you may take it with however many grains of salt you wish, that the brown acid that is circulating around us is not specifically too good. It's suggested that you do stay away from that. Of course, it's your own trip, so be my guest, but please be advised that there is a warning on that one, okay?
On Sunday, I see a bundle of festival programs lying on the side of the road and take a single copy for myself. Somehow, I managed to get it home in pretty good condition. We miss a lot that day, but see Johnny Winter, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. We're determined not to miss anything else, so we end up staying on the festival grounds for the rest of the night. In the morning, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band performs, followed by Sha-Na-Na, who I'd never heard of and I thought was just a group of guys goofing on everyone. As we wait for Hendrix, a very stoned guy next to us rolls a really fat joint out of blue rolling paper. He says that when Woodstock is over, all of us are going to rise up to heaven, which he really seems to believe. When Hendrix finally does appear, he runs up and pitches it at him, and I think Jimmy sees it, but he doesn't respond. Here's a movie of me waiting for Jimi Hendrix to come on stage. Barnett is standing behind someone, so you can only see the top of his head. Awestruck, I watch the best musical performance I have ever witnessed. Jimmy plays a long time, and at one point tells the crowd that it's okay to leave because he's just gonna jam. When he finally does finish, we hang around for a while, but it begins to sink in that this thing is over and we have to go home. I don't want to. That weekend, 109 Americans are killed in Vietnam. Woodstock claims far fewer victims than it could have. There is no violence, crime, or rioting, and no widespread disease or sickness. This is how a lot of people leave Woodstock, me included. I ride on top of an old Rambler station wagon, and it's fun at first, but then we reach highway speed, and it starts getting scary. When I get home, the first thing I want to do is get into the tub, where I fall dead asleep. My brother bangs on the door for 15 minutes, later saying he was sure I'd drowned. At work, the older guys have lots of questions, but not about music. They want to know about the nude hippie chicks they saw on the news. Jimmy and I had heard about them, but we didn't see any, not one. On August 20th, the Beatles meet at Abbey Road Studios for the last time and finish the album named for the studio. Within a month, John quits the band. On October 29th, the first message is transmitted over ARPANET, which will evolve into the Internet. Not a single person at Woodstock owned a computer or cell phone. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were only 14. As 1970 approaches, Max Yasgur declines to lease his property for a repeat concert. He says he'd rather be a dairy farmer. A festival is held at a racetrack in Massport, Canada, and a few of us go. The music and the vibe is good, and we have a great time, but still, it's not Woodstock. On September 18th, Jimi Hendrix is found dead of a drug overdose. A few weeks later, Janis Joplin also ODs. I start college at a small university in northern Wisconsin. That I'd been to Woodstock is noteworthy, and people ask me about it. In 1971, Max Yasgur retires and heads for Florida. On January 5th, 1972, Richard Nixon commits America to the space shuttle, saying it will make space a familiar, easily accessible territory for the 1980s and 90s. In 1972, a weekend festival is held at the Pocono racetrack in Pennsylvania, and we have to fight traffic all of Friday night to get there. On Saturday, we sit crammed for hours under a blistering sun waiting for music, and when it finally starts, it begins raining so hard that we are driven back to our cars. On the way, I slide down a muddy embankment into a small river. Wet, dispirited, hungover, and sunburnt, I agree when it's suggested that we just go home. On November 7th, Nixon defeats anti-war candidate George McGovern, who he portrayed as the candidate of amnesty, abortion, and acid. This is a picture of me proudly voting for George McGovern. Nixon's 18 million vote plurality is the fourth largest in American history. On February 9th, 1973, Max Yasgur dies at the age of 53. That summer, 600,000 traveled to Watkins Glen for a one-day concert starring the band, the Allman Brothers, and the Grateful Dead. In June of 1974, I graduate college and become a sales trainee at the Brockway Glass Company, after which I'm transferred to a small office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On August 9th, 1974, Richard Nixon resigns over Watergate, and Vice President Gerald Ford is sworn in. On September 8th, Ford pardons Nixon. In April of 1975, the last U.S. diplomatic, military, and civilian personnel are evacuated from Saigon. In June, I marry college sweetheart Dixie, and Jimmy is my best man. On November 2nd, 1976, Jimmy Carter defeats Ford and becomes the 39th president. In 1977, we moved to Minneapolis and buy our first house. A year later, Kate's born. 1978 is the year that my father retires from teaching. He's only 55. He claims he can't face the kids anymore. In 1979, we moved to New Jersey and buy this house. The 10th anniversary of Woodstock is celebrated at Madison Square Garden, but there is no organized event at the original site. That year, Dr. T. Ming Chu develops blood serum tests that detect the level of prostate-specific antigens. In 1980, Ted Turner starts CNN, and in August, MTV begins broadcasting music videos, which are hosted by VJs. On November 4th, Ronald Reagan defeats Jimmy Carter, whose presidency has been marred by the oil embargo, runaway inflation, and the Iranian hostage crisis. Reagan promises to restore the nation's military strength, which 60% of Americans feel is inadequate. On December 8, 1980, John Lennon is murdered. In April of 1981, Space Shuttle Columbia is launched. Louis Nicky, who owns a chain of auto glass shops in Brooklyn, buys the original Woodstock Festival site from the Yasgur estate. He intends to keep horses there. In May of 1981, Maya Ying Lin's design for the Vietnam Memorial is selected. At first, the unorthodox design and her Chinese ancestry is controversial, but it mostly dies down after the monument is completed. In 1982, our second daughter, Sarah, is born. In 1983, the first laptop computer is sold in the United States. It's called the Gavilan. After its government is overthrown, Reagan orders the storming of the tiny island nation of Grenada, claiming the lives of American medical students are in danger. Though internationally condemned, most Americans favor the adventure. 19 U.S. soldiers are killed there. In 1984, welder Wayne Sayward asks Nicky for permission to build a commemorative monument on the site of the original Woodstock Festival. Mr. Nicky says okay. Apple Computer introduces its Macintosh and that year sells 275,000 of them. In 1985, our son Joey is born. In 1986, the Reagan administration sells arms to Iran, which is fighting a war against then U.S.-supported Iraq, which is led by Saddam Hussein. The sale raises money for the Nicaraguan rebels, who we're behind because, well, they're freedom fighters. In 1987, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rises above 2,000 for the first time. On November 8, 1988, George H.W. Bush defeats Michael Dukakis. The Soviets pull out of Afghanistan after losing 16,000 troops during their 9-year conflict. On August 10, 1989, Louis Nicky dies and leaves the original site to his companion, June Gellish. For the 20th anniversary of Woodstock, a spontaneous gathering erupts on the original site. Crowds are estimated at 20,000. In November, the Berlin Wall comes down. On August 2, 1990, the United States liberates Kuwait from Iraq. 80% of Americans support it. In 1992, roads leading to the original site are blocked by snowplows. Notwithstanding the popularity of the Iraq invasion, George H.W. Bush is defeated by Bill Clinton primarily because he raised taxes after promising not to. On February 26, 1993, an explosives-laden truck is detonated in the basement of New York's World Trade Center. 6 people are killed and over 1,000 injured. To commemorate the 25th anniversary of Woodstock, Michael Lang organizes a huge event in Saugerties, New York. Sid Bernstein announces another. His is set to take place in Bethel and on the original site. If he can pull it off, it will be the first commercial rock and roll show on the grounds in 25 years. I have no plans to attend, but a friend who missed the original implores me to go with him. By the time I get excited about it, he has to back out. I load the car and head up early on Saturday, August 13th by myself. Fearing traffic problems, I chart a backroads course that by pure coincidence brings me in exactly the same way as I'd arrived 25 years before. Turns out Sid's concert is canceled, but people come anyway. A small stage is built and a bigger one is under construction. Bands perform all day Saturday and everyone is delighted by this group, seemingly fronted by a risen phoenix. Richie Havens, Melanie, and others perform. And keeping with tradition, it rains like hell. When the weekend is over, I wonder why I'd never come back before. 1994 is the year that Jackie Kennedy dies. She's 64. In 1995, there's another impromptu show at the original site. A stage is built by volunteers, and there's a steady stream of musicians eager to play Woodstock. In 1996, access to the original site is blocked, but nearby landowners, Roy and Gerald, open their property. I'm lucky enough to help out on Bill Hanley's amazing stage. In September, a company that specializes in anonymously buying land starts purchasing tracts surrounding the original festival site. Turns out they're working for cable television millionaire Alan Gary. On November 5th, Bill Clinton is re-elected, defeating Bob Dole, who's the last World War II veteran to run for president. In April of 1997, June Gellish dies. About a week later, Alan Gary announces that he had purchased the original site from her and that he intends to develop the property into a world-class performing arts destination. In August of 1998, Gary holds the Day in the Garden concert on the original site, and no expense is spared for food, sanitation, and production. Pete Townsend, Lou Reed, Donovan, Richie Havens, and Alvin Lee perform, and it's a world-class show. But when it's over, everybody has to get into their car and drive home. Roy and Gerald host their annual party, but the town of Bethel seeks to shut it down. Somehow, they don't. On July 16, 1999, John Kennedy Jr. crashes his airplane into the Atlantic Ocean, killing himself, his wife, and his sister-in-law. In 1999, Gerald runs for Bethel Town Council as a member of the Wanna Party. She holds a fundraiser on the farm, which just so happens to fall on the 30th anniversary of Woodstock. The rally is repeated in 2000. In September, New York Governor George Pataki commits $15 million for the Performing Arts Center. Happily, it will not be built atop the original grounds, which will be fenced off and made essentially off-limits, except for the corner where Wayne's monument stands. After the Supreme Court orders the cessation of the recount in Florida in November of 2000, George W. Bush becomes president. In February of 2001, my best friend Jimmy Barnett dies. He's only 48. On September 11th, the World Trade Centers are destroyed. A month later, and supported by most of the world, we enter Afghanistan. With Osama bin Laden still at large, Americans are soon hearing more about this guy, who's said to almost certainly be building weapons of mass destruction, and, it's suggested, he had something to do with 9/11. Over 70% of Americans believe it. On November 30th, George Harrison dies at age 58. Before the vote to authorize the use of force against Iraq, 75 United States senators are briefed that Hussein might have aerial vehicles capable of dropping WMDs on the United States. On October 11th, 2002, Bush receives the authorization he seeks. On November 23rd, Apple Computer releases the first iPod. It's also the year that my son's band, DJ Russell, is formed. On January 10, 2003, National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice warns that we shouldn't wait for a mushroom cloud before we stop Saddam Hussein. In his January 28, 2003 State of the Union address, President George W. Bush says Saddam Hussein is seeking quantities of uranium from Africa. His administration knows that U.S. intelligence disagrees. On February 1, 2003, 22-year-old Space Shuttle Columbia is destroyed as it re-enters the atmosphere. All crew members are killed. On March 20th, the hammers of hell are unleashed against Iraq. 200,000 American troops are involved, which is about a third of what was deployed in the first Gulf War. 3/4 of Americans support the attack, and nearly 90% feel it's well handled. On July 29, 2004, construction begins in the Bethel Woods Music Center. It's said to cost $100 million. Running on their record of keeping America safe, Bush and Cheney defeat Democrat John Kerry, a Vietnam veteran whose Purple Hearts are demeaned as mere scratches by some Republican convention goers. On August 12, 2005, my daughter Kate gets married. On July 1, 2006, Bethel Woods is opened by the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. On August 13th, Crosby, Stills, and Nash performed there. After being found guilty of crimes against humanity, Saddam Hussein is hanged on December 30th. On January 29, 2007, my father dies. He's buried at the National Military Cemetery in Pine Lawn, right across the street from Jimmy. By October 2007, 170,000 troops are on the ground in Iraq. 3,600 Americans have been killed there, and many, many more injured. In July of 2008, NASA announces they are winding down the Space Shuttle program, and the final flight is scheduled for May 31st, 2010. After a routine blood test shows high PSA levels, in August of 2008, I begin receiving radiation treatments for prostate cancer. On November 4th, Barack Obama is elected president. On November 10th, Shea Stadium is demolished. In February of 2009, my daughter Sarah successfully undergoes a bone marrow transplant. In March, daughter Kate gives birth to Amelia. It's the same year that Bethel Woods announces a 40th anniversary of the original festival. It will feature as many of the original acts as they can assemble. I drive up on Friday and it dawns on me just how many of these anniversaries I've missed. I stop by Wayne's monument and see some familiar faces and learn that Roy and Gerald are still putting on their party. I'm lucky enough to get invited. The show at Bethel Woods provides a nice payday for many of the original performers. As usual, the food, facilities, and sound are as good as they get, but when the show's over, it's everybody into their cars and onto the highways. In April of 2010, U.S. generals say they need more troops to win in Afghanistan, and Obama provides them. By year's end, 100,000 men and women are deployed there, and 1,400 Americans have already lost their lives. In mid-August of 2010, I returned to Bethel. I bring my video camera with me this time because I want to document how the anniversary of Woodstock is still being observed. In keeping with tradition, I stopped first at Hector's. Here's the road me and Jimmy came in on in 1969. It really hasn't changed very much. This is what's left of the bus turnaround that the original promoters built. It's now kind of a large campfire/drum circle. I'm still not sure if they had drum circles back in 1969. I really don't remember any. This is the field we camped in. Soon it will be filled with Woodstock revelers. Inside, I walk over to the corner where the payphone used to be. I kind of picture myself as a somewhat gangly and insecure teenager standing in that very spot over 40 years ago, waiting to see if I could make a phone call home to my mother. As I'd arranged, I meet up with friend and Woodstock alum, Bob Christopher, who showed up early in 1969 and got to work on the stage.
On a Wednesday afternoon, and it wasn't really too packed, so I ended up going over to the stage and volunteering my services to help them build the stage and get some stuff together. I saw Richie Havens, Grace Slick in the Jefferson Airplane, Santana.
Where were you during Hendrix?
Unfortunately, I was sleeping under the stage. I never heard Jimmy play one note. I believe it was 96 we came up here to Roy and Gerald's place. We had started to camp out across the street from Hector's. There was an old general store down there, and the cops came and threw everybody out. So we moved up here. It's just something, it draws you together, and it was just such a feeling of love.
And you feel the same thing here now even?
Oh yeah.
Do you think you'll ever stop coming?
Well, I've already told my son, I want to be here for the 50th anniversary, even if he has to wheel me. And if I'm dead, I want him to bring my ashes here. So I guess long and short of it is, I'll never stop coming.
Is there ever a time when you wish you never heard of Woodstock, never came to Woodstock? No?
This is what Hector's looks like from the outside. The Enterprise van is my camper for the weekend, which I drive up to Roy and Gerald's. The stage is set up in the woods, and I head back there to see who's around. The grill master is back. He comes every year and spends almost 20 hours a day cooking for everybody, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's something he really loves to do.
Making breakfast for everybody.
I think I remember you last year. You're doing that too, aren't you?
Yeah. They call me the grill master.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get
Feed the
flavor.
people.
That's
mentally, spiritually, and physically.
Now, do you bring all this stuff with you?
Yeah. And I give it away to the band
Pay
and
for all the
staff.
food?
Everybody does, but yeah.
Everybody kicks in?
Yeah. Done it since 99
I
for
think
these
there's more
guys.
Woodstock spirit here than there was in 69. Yeah.
Especially when I see Melanie perform the first time in 99. Oh man, it was such a great time.
I stop by to say hi to the rooster, who's getting the stage set up.
So where are you from, man?
Woodstock, New York. I'm the rooster.
Kinda. How long you been doing this?
Doing the stages for, oh God, as long as I can remember. About 10 years ago, we started putting up the Gorilla Rooster stage in the woods, and pretty soon we were the main stage, and now we're resurrecting it.
Who pays for all this?
This is all free, brother.
It's all free?
Everybody comes in and chips in, and nobody's getting paid, and we got free food, and it's a real deal. This is the real Woodstock.
Okay. Well, thanks. I might see you along the way here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
definitely.
get some tape.
Well, I hope you stick around.
Up at the entrance gate, I see Gerald, Groovy, and Wayne Magic.
Because I might say something important. You never know, and I'm going to say something that is worthy of, well, not outrageous, but worthy of note. That should be recorded for history.
Hey, Roy.
Hey, Roy. This is the guy you should be filming. Well, you better do it early, because by later on he'll be
Make you a movie star. Okay. Do my 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is.
Of drinking?
Don't drink while I'm working.
Is that why you never work?
Nah. Well, you might have something to do with that. Nothing's going on here.
Hopefully it'll stay that way.
And they'll figure it out eventually, though. They're already snooping around.
I head back to the campsite and see photographer Rick Faulkner, who nearly made it to the original, warranted for the
I was
traffic.
just about to turn 15.
Yeah.
It was a couple weeks before I turned 15. We were on our way to Pennsylvania to visit relatives. I knew Woodstock was happening and I wanted to see it. Even if I couldn't go, I wanted to see it. We were actually probably 25, 30 miles away on Route 84 heading west. My father, he kind of looked interested, like he might think about it. On the radio, we heard the first announcement. The New York State Thruway is closed.
Yeah.
And that pretty
sealed
much,
it?
that canned it for me. I came back for the first actual concert on the original site. It was 98, I believe. So I've been coming back almost every year since. 1 year I missed because I got an email telling me that some of the guys were here, but the police had told them no, and they were throwing everybody out.
The weekend's music has been booked by Rachel Holt, who's brought in a diverse group of musicians who've always wanted to play Woodstock, Michael Allman among them. Over the years, I've seen this woman who calls herself Mary Poppins, but this is the first time I talk with her.
God loves hippies. Yes, he do. God loves hippies. You should too. You can never go to a hippie gathering without making a friend. You become part of a family, which is the Woodstock Nation. If you go to a true hippie gathering where people love each other, let me tell you something. If you need a shirt, somebody will give you one. If you need a piece of bread, somebody will give you some. If someone needs a hug or a prayer, you'll find it there. That's what Woodstock Nation is all about. So I want to tell you something. Don't get the conception that we all roll in the mud, because we're here to spread peace and love. Love you. God bless you.
I asked Roy to give me his take on the celebration.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this? When did this all get started with?
96.
96? How did that start?
It started because they stopped everybody from going over to the original site, and people were coming to Bethel and they had nowhere to go. So I volunteered to let them come here because, it's a party, and the people that are putting this on are the people that are right here.
I've always thought it's amazing that you allow this to go on the property.
Why is it amazing? I mean, people come here, they play music, they have a good time, and they leave, and there's no crime, and there's no ripping people off or anything.
Right. If you weren't doing it, this wouldn't go on anyway. This would be over.
Well, Hector's does it every year also.
Yeah.
But he's got a different crowd.
You do this for as long as you're able, or?
Most of these people are friends, and they come here. And they want to prosecute me for it.
Author and Flash Me the Peace Sign website originator, Pat Colucci, shares a rather charming Woodstock memory.
I was 20 years old in 1969 and a seminary student, and I rode from Tarrytown on this old beater of a bike. And I got as far as 17B, got caught on the exit, and then the car door opened in front of me, and this young girl hopped out of the back seat, long straight hair, bell bottoms, no shoes. She comes over to me, she says, hey buddy, throw your gear in my girlfriend's car, and we're going to ride down the side of the road. Why should we sit in traffic? We went down the road, we got pretty close to the festival site. All of a sudden I came to the realization that, gee, we're never going to meet up with this car again. We spent 3 days of interesting time together, and then the next morning went back to Tarrytown and dropped this girl off. And she says, before you go, Pat, I want to buy you something to keep you safe on your motorcycle. And she bought me this St. Christopher's medal, which I happen to have on. And on the back of this medal, she inscribed the words, Love Always Maria, August 28th, 1969. So in 2 weeks, it's going to be 41 years old. Last year was the 40th reunion, so I asked Maria to come up here with me. We went into the museum over at Bethel. She was on a cell phone, and evidently she was checking on the grandkids, our grandkids. Maria and I married 10 months after Woodstock, and we're together. June 28th was our 40th wedding anniversary.
I decide to run up to the monument and see what's going on over there. This is a shot from the upper rim of the original site. The stage was set up right about there. This is how it looks from the reverse angle. I'm not sure how they did it, but they managed to get a couple of 100,000 people on this hillside. Over there in the corner, near the little white awning, is where Wayne's monument stands. Glenn from Clifton is the first guy I talk with.
Drove, stuck in traffic, driving. On the way here, these two guys just started arguing with each other over, nobody knew what, but about 10 people, 5 on each side, facing each other, just moved between them, didn't say a word, and just moved them apart, and the two guys just went off in different directions. It was one of those moments that showed me the importance of being involved, doing something to make a difference, and the people that did this made a difference. I came back here on the 10th, and then on the 20th actually camped. There used to be a marker up in the middle of the property up there. 25th, I'm pretty sure I was back here. Since the 29th, I've been coming back every year since.
So you had a kite you were flying.
Yeah.
You fly that every year?
I've been doing that for at least the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And the thing with that, for the first couple of years, it was like a thing to me about making it fly. And then I realized that that's not the point. Sometimes it flies, sometimes it doesn't. Both are fine.
I guess that's not a bad way of looking at things. Next, I talk with Marco, another Woodstock veteran.
What I've heard is the guy that actually put this all together is from the area, and he made a fortune in cable television.
TV, yeah, it's true.
And I guess his thing was, I'd rather do this than have somebody build a strip mall or Woodstock condos. And so, in a sense, I guess this is the best it could have been, because it wasn't going to stay the field and a farm forever. I came back quite a few different times, but in '94 on the 25th, I was down by where the stage was, and he said, "Did you come up to the pink tent? We're all swapping stories and seeing like who stayed the track and who sold out."
Yeah.
The kid from Long Island.
Yeah.
And he said, and I'm begging my father for weeks, "Dad, I want to go to this concert. It's going to be the biggest thing. And he said, my father's going. Bullshit. He said, no, you're not going. You're not doing it. He says, I just got my driver's license, and not only does my mother convince my dad to let me go, but he gives me the brand new Cadillac. He said, so as the car's going down the road, he said people were like sitting on the fender, they were sitting on the roof, you know, just piling on, figuring whatever ride they get, even if it's that slow, it's better than walking. Right. And he said, all of a sudden I hear, and he said, the whole roof of the car caved in. And he went, he said, his father drowned it.
What makes you come back here?
It's changed my whole life. I mean, I was in Columbia University.
Yeah.
I was a business major, and I left here, and I said, I don't want to be in this room for carpenter. Very well-educated carpenter, but I'm a carpenter. But I'm happy. I don't feel like I sold out. Like I said, this is just a great experience. I don't mind sharing it with anybody.
If you make it to the monument, you have a fair chance of running into Gypsy.
And on the other side of those trees is a small pond. And when I came past the pond, I looked over, and there were about 200 naked wood nymphs frolicking in the pond. And I said, today's going to be a good day. I didn't get here till Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. I remember you saying that.
And I pushed the motorcycle out of the garage and rolled it down the hill because I didn't want to wake my wife up. But I walked down, I touched the stage. I didn't really see anybody perform. I was only here the last day, but we're going to count that as, you know, I was here.
I talked with Rich Oken, who's come back to Woodstock for the first time since 1969.
You're in 69?
I was. I got here on the 14th, and I actually, when I was, this is the first time I've been back in 41 years. This year, it became important for me to kind of reconnect to this time. And as I was driving in, I saw where I parked my car on 17B. I was right, I can tell you exactly where I was. I was just before the hump center, because I got here the day before, and probably about halfway in between the stage and there. So
and you just stayed there?
I stayed there almost the whole time. I'm going to take my shoes off, and I'm just going to have my toes slish in the mud, and I'm sure it'll have a memory. I can feel the energy, and it brings back a lot of really good memories.
Oh, I bet. Thanks.
Phil Langer remembers how his local connections eased his way at the original.
August of '69, my brother and I came up. We were in New York City at the time. My uncle Dave Wasseloff had a farm up here. When I was a kid, we used to come up to White Lake. He picked us up right here near this road and took us back to the farm. We stayed overnight in the farmhouse. We had a great breakfast, and he brought us back because he was a local. Nobody said anything to him, and he just drove us back in his pickup right up close. Right up here backstage. It was great. Well, I went to 99 with my kids up at Griffith Air Force Base up north in Rome.
Okay.
And I came last year to the 40th.
What makes you come back to this?
You get a feeling. Every year they say, you read in the newspaper that it's not the same. That the Woodstock tradition, but they don't know because they didn't feel it. Because if you come back and you stand here and you look at that field, there's something that you feel that you just don't understand if you weren't there, the realization of what was true is in here. And you can't get that just from showing up and walking around. I mean, you can see the monument's beautiful, the field is gorgeous, it's nice sharing things, but you remember.
Cool.
This is what the monument looked like back in 1989. In those days, it was considered perfectly okay to pull your car into the field and set up a campsite. This is some rare footage of Wayne at the 25th anniversary. Believe it or not, he's being negotiated with because he's parked his car too close to the monument. I remember talking with Wayne once, and he told me that building that monument had caused him a lot more trouble than he thought it would. I decided to go up to Hector's and see what's going on over there. For most of the year, Hector's is just a little country bar that receives very little attention. All that changes during the third weekend of August. The place has a small pavilion outside where bands perform on and off. For as long as I can remember, a core group of celebrants have been allowed to camp on the property, and a few times the party has expanded to the other side of the road. I see quite a few familiar faces. Ben Magic is back, and as usual, making himself useful.
Auxiliary parking for the Hector Stock Overflow, and it's called Freedom at Hector. Back in '69, he helped everyone. He's done it ever since, and now he's an old guy, but He's still helping. You know, it's like, that was Freedom Press. This ain't Freedom Press right now. This is Hector stock. People next door here, the owner and stuff, they went to the channels, and we have private parking.
You're okay, huh?
Totally legit. For once. Easy.
How you doing?
Fine.
You're back here every year, right?
Yes.
Now, did you come here in '69? Did you make the Woodstock?
No, my daddy made me work on the garden instead. He said, you ain't going up there. You know what? It was good. And it's still good. And it's really tough. But it's really good.
Then there's Johnny Jules, who missed the first Woodstock, but not too many since.
I was 14 years old, and my folks told me that if you go to that hippie festival, keep going, and you still got to go to school. So I couldn't go, but I was fortunate enough a few years later when I became 18, I was able to go to my first mass gathering, which was at Watkins Glen, New York. Saw the band, the Grateful Dead, the New Riders. In 1989, a bunch of folks, original site, they all started camping there. They had gone there every year to celebrate after '69. But in '89, they said, oh, this is the big 20th anniversary. All the media came. And the next thing you know, 50,000 people were there.
Oh, what's your name, Johnny Jules?
Oh,
what's your name,
my name is Johnny Jules, but my friends call me Bert. I'm going to show you why they call me Bert. All right. My name is Bertram. I am a redneck. Oh, my friends, they call me Bert.
Hey, Bert.
Cape California, to my big pretty girl. And I'm sure gonna find me one.
69, how old were you?
10, 11 years old.
How'd you get here?
On my dad's troop car.
So,
he was a state trooper from 65 to 85. He was a trooper here.
Do you look like your father? Because I think I was arrested by him.
You could be. He arrested a lot of people. Well, I happened to be in the front seat of the car there, and he came out here back then, and the last 1,000 feet before we got to 17B, it was just solid people. You see no fields. You didn't see no more road. It was just solid people. We got to 17B. We turned around and went back to Narrowsburg.
Still.
But it's something that I'll never forget. Just like you see the pictures there with solid people, that's what it looked like, and it was amazing. Something I can't forget.
I've seen Sandra at a few of these, but this is the first time I talked to her.
I went to the Pennsylvania National Rainbow Gathering last month.
Okay.
And when I was about to leave there, I decided, you just lost your job. Your kid's going to South Carolina for the summer.
Yeah.
Why are you going back to New York, right?
Right.
So I hitched a ride on this big green canna bus.
Canna bus.
Okay. And it took me to Ohio. And then we went to Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Carolina Beach.
All right.
A good time was had by all, for sure.
I'm sure.
So I got dropped up in Woodstock, New York.
All right.
And I ran into Grandpa and I told him my plan. And he said, Sandy, they left today for Hector's. And then he starts telling me how he bought this bus. And I said, really? All right, well, what day are you leaving for Hector's? He goes, well, I'm leaving Tuesday morning. I'm like, can I catch a ride with you? He says, yeah. But then I met and I went to this really great party last Saturday.
So you got here on Tuesday. You were up at Roy's, right?
I got here on Tuesday here.
Sandy's your name?
Yes.
Okay.
Sandra,
well, thanks for
Sandromeda.
stopping.
Like, welcome to Sandyland.
Sandyland?
It's a nice place to visit.
Thanks. Okay.
I remember the first time I camped here. It was real early in the morning when I was awoken by something seriously messing with my tent. For some reason, I imagined it was the work of two really big bikers, that I'd somehow managed to get angry at me. But it wasn't bikers. It was one of these horses. He was giving me a wake-up call by stroking his hoof across the side of my tent. I guess he didn't like me camping in his field. Bleary-eyed, I scurried from my tent and jumped on top of my car and waited for him to go away. Even after all these years, it looks like that horse recognizes me and still doesn't like me being in his field. I decided to get out of there and go up to the house where I talk with a guy who calls himself Teach.
69.
You were there?
Yeah, Monday morning I arrived right after Hendrix, but I had all the intentions of getting here. We had tickets.
As far as putting on the shows here, when was the first year that a group of people came to this property?
96. the year that they tossed us out.
You're involved in putting on the shows here, right? I mean,
yes. Like I says, we do a lot of work, Roy and Gerald included. We hope to carry the tradition on. And we hope that some of these kids that are coming up that volunteer to help will also carry on the tradition after we're gone. So I'll be here for the 50th.
I hope to be here for the 50th too.
And probably longer.
I walk down to the stage area. I see Chip, a longtime volunteer and Woodstock alum, and we remember Wayne Sayward.
Wayne Sayward. He died of cancer a couple years ago. Yeah, he was a friend of mine. I knew him. We hung out together years ago. Well, it's funny because I remember talking to him, and he was only like 14 or something. He didn't make it here because he wasn't allowed to come because his parents wouldn't let him come. He kept that spirit, though. It was amazing.
Sort of like one of the lost characters of Woodstock.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
and it's funny. I didn't know for years later that he was the one who put the monument there.
Rich tells me how he met the love of his life.
Eternity. I found the girl in my dreams here.
yeah. But is your girlfriend up
Yeah,
there?
she's here. I've lost her.
Oh, you've lost her?
Well, she's looking for her girlfriend from Pennsylvania as well.
Well, I hope you find her, man.
Oh, of course I will. Probably in about 20 minutes.
What makes you come back? That's really what I'm interested in. Why do you come back?
Oh, it's like family. It's healing.
Yeah?
It's more than I can say, sir. It's more than I can say.
Abigail Storm is on hand.
Yes, and on the back, time to plant. Well, essentially, you know, the cannabis plant is one of the most valuable plants that we've ever had. The cannabis plant does kill cancer and shrink tumors. This is 1 month after taking the elixir, and it's completely shrinking and going away. So we're taking this information to the governor. We do have a senator who's a nurse up in Albany, and our hope is to get the governor to take action on this and stop the eradication of this plant in the state of New York.
She's been attending these reunions for some time.
Want to be, what are you doing here? Oh, we could stand together, joining hand in hand, with love and peace and music, we can take our
I was 8 years old during the original one, and my parents would not let me come. I live 15 minutes from here.
Yeah.
My parents wouldn't let me come with my father's youngest brother because I was too young. And that was probably about the last time I ever listened to my parents again. I've been up here pretty much ever since. My kids, my daughter was at the 25th reunion at a year and a half of age, and her and my son are floating around here now, and she's 19 now, and she's got 10 of her friends here with her.
It's a poster of what's happening. Oh, please don't videotape me. My friend over there with the hat on, he's also a musician, and he made these. He's an amazing artist, and it has all the people who are playing here the next few days. I've already framed mine and have it in the house. It hasn't even happened
I
yet.
visit for a little while with Groovy.
69. I worked at the original site. Did you? How'd you wangle that job? Just show up and say, hey,
Showed up.
carpenter?
I heard about it, so I come up and put me to work. I was 21.
All right. And you've never stopped coming to this?
No,
one
I
way or
come
the other?
every year, ever since they started having the 20th, right on up till now.
This is the man that I worked security with, of all things.
That's what
He
they
just told me you need a body at the foot of the stairs.
Yeah.
That's usually enough to keep people from going up.
Huge Hendrix fan, Little Wing, explains how she missed the original.
I was 14 at the time, and my brother Mike was leaving from Baltimore to come up to Bethel for the festival, and he was saying goodbye to my mom on the front steps. And I happened to be there, and I said, please, can I go, Mom? And she looked at him, and he did this. The last thing my 18-year-old brother needed was to watch out for his 14-year-old sister.
Audrey Drake and Harmony perform. I chat for a little while with Security Chief Wayne Magic.
Since 94.
94, so you didn't make the original one?
No. I was a little young on the first one.
So what's your involvement on this show?
I do security, maintenance or whatever. Everybody's safe, nobody's getting harmed or anything like that.
I mean, What do you think brings people back? What brings you back to this?
I don't believe there's any other place you can meet a better friend than here. Once a year we get together and it's just like the first time seeing each other again.
Julian Forrest has come a long way to perform here.
Crazy lead guitar to symphonic orchestras, sitars, whales are going to be coming out on my guitar, everything, and it'll just be very, very unusual. No, this is new. Yeah, absolutely. I came from Phoenix, Arizona, and I flew in just to do this.
Rising Tribe and Pearly performed together. Hudson Valley Hall of Famer Pete Rose shares his thoughts on the gathering.
See, I'm a working musician, Joe, and I couldn't get here for the 20th. The first time I came here was what they call Woodstock 21. I've been playing here pretty much, then Roy started doing it in '96.
Yeah.
Why do I keep coming back?
Coming back?
Because I'm addicted to love, peace and love, you know? Yeah. And that's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah.
You know, we have to save the planet, Joe. I mean, that's the deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's our job. So we're going about it. We're brainstorming right now as I stand here. And we're all in this together. You know, it ain't just me and my hallucinations. This is real. Okay, we are brainstorming and telepathically communing with one another to create something far larger than any one of us. And that's the dream of a lifetime.
Roop hasn't missed too many of these.
Started coming here in '94 for the anniversary over at the original site down the road.
You're actually involved in production here, right?
I've always been on staff. This year, once again, I'm in charge of water and electrical. We have running water here in the kitchen, which you probably just noticed. All right, and not too far through the trees, we have a hot shower. We have somebody in charge of booking bands. We have somebody in charge of keeping the stage on schedule. We have a couple of guys who are doing technical aspects of sound and mixing boards and microphones and whatever, which is what I originally did. But somehow I went into this offshoot because nobody else was doing it as something else that I could do.
Later that night, Rachel Holt performs with Pete's band.
you go.
Morning comes around a lot faster than I'd like it to. Kate, an artist working out of New Jersey, shares her Woodstock memories with me.
Everyone was a product of that time. And the time was, this country had changed, shifted direction with the Vietnam War and its treatment of people in general. And I think we were one huge, frantic community trying to find reason and sense in the madness. I've been coming back intermittently to different reunions in search of that holy thing that was part of the original Woodstock. And I find it. In bits and pieces, I find it. In the most subtle of ways, I certainly do.
Christy's been to quite a few of these as well.
Years and years.
How far back do you go?
Probably mid-90s. My father worked this as a state trooper.
Is that? Oh, yeah. So what keeps you coming back?
Love.
Love.
I'm Susan.
Gonna come back next year?
Oil levels. Most likely, yeah. I mean, unless I'm working. Last year we worked a guitar festival up in Woodstock, so we couldn't make it.
JG's been part of the Woodstock family for quite a while.
Came here when I was about 7 years old.
You remember coming?
I do remember it. I remember lots of mud and serving thousands of people free food at the free kitchen. Everybody comes up to me, all right, yeah, sure, I'll take a sandwich. How much does that cost? It's free. They blew their mind. A lot of these people are my family. I will keep coming back here for the rest of my life, whether they have it at Hector's or in 18 miles down the road. I don't know, but I will keep coming back.
Yeah, I love coming here. I've been, like I said, I've been doing it for over 20 years now, and it's just, we're like a family. We call ourselves family. We're family. You know, it's a family.
Joyce and Perry do a great rendition of Me and Bobby McGee.
Waiting for a train, I was feeling about as straight as my dreams. Bobby, I've gone to decent down, right before the rain. You're beautiful, man, all the way to New Orleans. La-da-da, la-da-da,
Kim from Earth makes me feel old, though I'm sure she doesn't mean to.
My name's Kim.
Kim, where are you from?
I'm from Earth.
It's a good place to be, Joyce.
I think so.
Yeah.
So my mom went to Woodstock in 1969, so I just thought it would be the thing to do since I was staying in Woodstock. They did Kundalini yoga at the first Woodstock, and I also teach Kundalini yoga. It's a good yoga to help your cerebral spinal fluid and all your chakras and all your glandular system. So it helps you in your nervous system, and it helps us prepare for the Aquarian age, which is what Woodstock is all about, right? But if people want to learn about Kundalini yoga, they can go to 3ho.org, the number 3, the letter H, and the letter O.org. It stands for Happy, Healthy, Holy Organization.
I stopped by the 420 Club and chat with Benny and his daughter.
My first time here was probably in like 98. My dad is Benny of Benny's 420 Club. We're here for the spirit, we're here for family, we're here just because it's Woodstock reunion.
How long have you been coming here?
Since 1969. I enlisted in the Navy and my grandfather passed away that summer, and I got emergency leave and came home. And I hopped on the back of one of my buddy's motorcycles and came up here. We don't come here to make money, we come here to have a good time. And the more kids playing with toys and people walking through the forest, you know, the better time we all have.
What makes you come back?
Okay, man.
Okay.
You really want to know?
Yeah.
The spirit of 56,000 vets
Yeah.
that give up.
Yeah.
Gave me my freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, when I get here, man, they all fucking like, shh, and I'm like wrecked.
Yeah.
You know, without getting high because their spirits are here and they love it.
Bethel in August is an important stop on Handy Dan's travel itinerary.
Well, man,
travel around the whole country, basically?
The eastern half so far. I wanted to go out west a couple years ago. We got sidetracked at my brother's house in Texas.
How do you keep this show on the road?
I'm a disabled veteran. I moved into the bus to visit my family who had moved all over the place. So I just started out doing that, and then in my travels I've made more friends along the way. The first time I pulled up here, it was in '99. I pulled up and handed Banjo was one of the guys at the front gate, and handed him a piece of paper that I had written down all the tools and stuff I have on board. I said, "My name's Handy Dan and I'm here to help." That's what I've got with me. And they like adopted me.
Pearlie Whites shares a little family history with me.
I am from Sullivan County originally. My parents had a bungalow colony up here. I've been coming since the 20th anniversary. The 25th was the best.
That was on the original site, right?
Yeah, and they couldn't let more people in. It was like only a few people out and a few people in.
What makes you keep coming back to this?
Oh, I love the country. I love the woods. Here's my home.
Yeah.
It makes me like more inspired to be out here.
Miss Blue Halleck was here in 1969.
Blue Halleck, Ms. Blue Halleck.
Ms. Blue Halleck?
Yes, and I was at the Woodstock Festival in 1969.
And has proof.
Picture of me is this one right here.
That's you right there.
That's me when I was 18. This picture is also me, this whole picture. Well, that's me and that's my daughter when she was 8. Now she's 29. Yeah, I'm a famous hippie.
Famous hippie.
I am a really famous hippie.
Quintessential hippie.
Yeah, I work in a factory that makes these things. For real, yes, really. Look, Gerald. But see, if you look at this picture that doesn't have my head, there's my bell.
There's no question, that is the same picture.
That is the same person, but my hair was a lot longer.
Al was in the Army in 1969, but managed to catch the Woodstock spirit anyway.
But I caught the Woodstock spirit in August of '69. I came down '99. Alan Gary had this day in the garden. We sold our tickets there and we came back here. This is the only thing in my life that's set in stone. This weekend, I am here. Everything else is open to the sky. This is family. Why? Why not? This is family. This is where you belong. I tell people, if you're not here, you're in the wrong place. This is it. This is heaven. This is my heaven, my medicine. I feel good.
The music goes on all day and all night. Music shuts down around 2 a.m. Sunday morning comes even faster than Saturday did. I awaken to find that the stage has already been ripped down.
Just leave right there, baby. Shine the light on me. I'm going inside, I'll be right back. Let the midnight special. Shine the light on me. Let the midnight special, Lord. Shine the light on me.
U.S. Sam, good morning. I actually was a performer and also MC and just pretty much hooligan. Yeah, stage hooligan.
This is Woodstock 2010, the aftermath.
This your first time up?
Hell no, I've been coming here for about 12 years now. It's where my family is. It's where at least once a year I know I can see everybody. Everybody knows to come here on the third weekend in August, and we're all here. I can say hello to everybody.
You've been working on stage and stuff like that?
Yes.
What do you think of it?
I think it's awesome. It was the best weekend I've ever had in my life.
Is that right?
Yeah. But when I got here, 4 people within 10 minutes said welcome home to me.
Looked a little bit better at the beginning. How many hours you figure you slept during all this?
About 2.
About...
But it was one hell of a party, brother.
Hey, you did a great job. I mean, the sound was fantastic, and
everybody had a good time, man.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
2 hours sleep, Willie. You don't look too bad. Good luck, man. Take care. Hey, where you heading?
Woodstock, the actual town that the Woodstock Festival was supposed to occur at, about 20-30 miles from Yasser's farm, thereabouts.
Now, you came in from Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I flew here from Phoenix, Arizona.
No real idea how you were going to get home?
No way how I was going to get home, how I was going to get here, where this really was. I just knew I had to come to this place, for sure.
So now you're going to stay up in Woodstock, though?
Yes.
Met some people here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get fresh with them?
You know, I'm actually going to rent a room, most likely. But I had probably approximately 10 different places I could have went from this festival.
Well, good for you, man. Best of luck to you, all right?
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Okay. How's it going, man?
I will. Oh, really well.
Everything broken down?
Oh, we are, yes.
Dwayne, what your involvement here? What's it been?
Well, we get the stage set up, help with the sound and video and a little bit of everything else. Electric, anything you need. Since '94. That was my first time anyway. '97, '98 is when I started to get more involved in actually helping with how things go.
How'd that happen? How did you get
I can't sit still. Met Roop at one of the events. I think that was actually, might have been 94 or 95. Somebody needed electrical tape, and how many people bring electrical tape with them to a festival? So it was me. So, and then it went on from there, little by little, until it got up to this level. So.
What makes you keep coming back?
Because since '94, you get the Woodstock spirit in you. It's hard to stay away.
Okay. Let me tell you, I'll talk to you. Yeah.
Bye, kids.
Well, it's all over.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame, isn't it?
Always next year.
Hopefully it comes back around,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it will. It's going to be great. Now we've got this kind of established now. It'll be great. It'll be nice to come back here again. It's great.
Well, it's the town fathers what you do, man.
Yeah, well, that's the big key. It's like, it's all political. It's a shame. And it's a shame.
Let the midnight special, Lord, shine a light on me. Let the midnight special shine a light on me. Special, Lord, shine the ever-loving light. Shine the ever-loving light on me.
Cool, man.
Peace from Woodstock.
As I was getting ready to leave, I worried that next year there might not be as much to come back to. Wayne's monument was the catalyst that revived the spirit that had lain dormant for almost 20 years. Though it's become the focal point of the annual observance, it just isn't the same. It's beautifully preserved, but it's no longer the gathering place it once was. I hope that someday Bethel Woods opens the grounds of the original site to campers, even if it's only for a few days each year. I doubt if complete and unfettered access is in the cards, but perhaps a gradual approach could be taken, just to try it out. It won't be easy, but if it didn't work out, things could always go back to the way they were. I hope a way is found to ensure that Hector's continues to receive whatever permits it needs to hold their annual celebration, especially for the campers. It would be really great if Bethel's town fathers continue to afford Roy and Gerald whatever latitude they need to hold their annual celebration. A lot of people sure would miss it if it wasn't held. George Harrison's first solo album was called All Things Must Pass, and I imagine that when he chose that title, it was a reference to the Beatles breaking up. I know George was a spiritual guy, but I'm not sure he was thinking about all the other things that have to pass. And that includes fathers, best friends, baseball stadiums, Camelot and his court, political bosses, rising stars, guitar gods, blues icons, and even the shy Beatle himself. Luckily, a spirit is unaffected by such worldly mortality, but ironically, it's useless if there's no beating hearts for it to fill. If you come to Bethel in the middle of August, you won't see anything like the crowds that gathered there in 1969. Some years the celebrations are pretty big, and others pretty small. But if you find your way to any of the places where people gather, chances are pretty good you're going to feel the spirit of Woodstock brush up against you. And when it does, don't be surprised if you want to come back and feel it again. Delayed launches pushed the last space shuttle flights into 2011. NASA had been planning to replace the program with a mission to return to the moon and then continue on to Mars, but the program is shut down due to cost overruns. It seems that America believes it can no longer afford to dream big. On August 31st, 2010, Barack Obama announces the end of the war in Iraq. The conflict has lasted longer than World War II and cost America 4,416 lives. More than 31,000 American men and women were injured, not to mention the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on the bloody enterprise. The French novelist Alphonse Karr said something over 100 years ago that's as true today as it was then. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
What's your name? Gypsy. Gypsy, okay. All right. What's your name? Gypsy. Gypsy, okay. Do me. One with my camera. One with my camera. Get on the camera. Get on the camera. Oh, and this green light is blinking, go fall. Okay, yeah, there it is. Oh, and this green light is blinking, go fall. Okay, yeah, there it is. Hey, Gypsy, what's that stone over in the corner there for? There's a stone there by that stop sign. Oh, I have no idea. You gotta get a picture. Yeah, to see what's the difference.
I looked across the parking lot. The sky was falling, I thought, what can I do? I ran outside to hold it up. I tried so hard and did all I could do. I stayed like this for way too long. I'm giving up, I've blown my cover. This isn't quite what I had planned. So give it up, try something new. There is no pain, there is no struggle. Walk away and forget your troubles now. The sky had cleared, the sun went out. The clouds had left the sky bed blue. The time had come, we just found out. We dropped the sky to find out what it do. I stayed like this for way too long. I'm try something new. There is no pain, there is no struggle. Walk away and forget your troubles. Down, down forever. We can't give what we owe. There was no way out for us. I stay like this for way too long. I'm giving up, I've blown out cover. This isn't quite what I had planned. So give it up, try something new. There is no pain, there is no struggle. Walk away and forget your troubles now.